Look at how beautiful the sky is now that the clouds are starting to disappear. And remember how I said to you in the beginning of the show, the maintenance team had been out and repairing some of the roads after the rain, and especially after the rain we had about a week ago that caused quite a bit of erosion. Now, I went to Buffelshoek Dam and I saw that the buffalo was not there anymore, and I think what has happened here is the maintenance team has come around and actually dragged that buffalo out, perhaps with a tractor, and for good reason, because as we know, when you have something like a carcass in a water source, it will pollute it. So I can understand why they did pull it out, and they moved it away. So here it lays, and we will see if anything comes to eat it. Now, normally we don't like to interfere, as you know, but I suppose that is a special occasion, and I've known it to be done on many different reserves that I've worked on before, is when the carcasses do die in the water, and say the hyenas haven't come straight away to drag it out. They have indeed removed it. They haven't moved it too far from the dam at all, but they've just deposited it over here. Isn't that wonderful? You can see the dam is just down over there in the distance. And I think it was a good move that they did. But sadly, that means that the terrapins lose out on a tasty meal, and you saw how they were enjoying themselves, gorging on all the ticks, but hopefully they got their fill. Now, we're going to carry on, though. We're going to see what else we can perhaps find along the way. Now, what we're going to do is we're not going to go too far away, and the reason being is I'm hoping that maybe in half an hour or so, that the other guides would have come in and had a quick look at those lions, and then hopefully the pressure on that sighting will die down a little bit and allow for us to go back in and have another look at those Nkuhumas. And I think we got there just in the nick of time to see them playing around and having sort of the best sighting, really. And then they laid down to have a nap. But I've got my radio on, I'm listening to see if anybody has said anything. And I didn't find those zebra either. Remember I said to you we could hear all those zebra. It sounded like they were alarming, but I'm not sure what they were alarming at. Maybe they will pop up somewhere. And I think David also thinks so. I think we're going to have a spectacular sunset tonight, which is exciting, because it's been so cloudy and overcast that we haven't really had the greatest one. So tonight will be the night, especially with all these light fluffy clouds. I think that we're going to see lots of lovely purples and reds and oranges this evening. And of course, you know, my favorite spot for sunsets is Quarantine, because of that lovely gradient, and then you often get all the impala and inyala and various animals going onto those plains to rest up for the night. So sometimes you get the most incredible silhouette shots. So that's probably going to be our plan at some point as well. But we've still got about an hour or so, maybe even a little bit longer before that sun goes down. But we will just carry on driving around, seeing what else we can find out here in the wilderness. Well, let's see what we've got here. Lots of termite mounds. It looks like the termites have been quite busy. Let's find one. Let's look at this one. Now, of course, as I mentioned that, I've just driven past all the termite mounds that have actively added some chimneys and things. But isn't this a beautiful one now that it lights up in the sunset? And I love how each mound is completely different from the next one. Some of them build them nice and tall and narrow, like we're seeing here. And then you've got other ones that sort of make them quite wide and broad with lots of little towers. Let's see if we can find some of those. Now, these big termite mounds, as we've been chatting, and we've shown you quite a few of the actual termites, we know are the large fungus-growing termites, and they make various shapes. See, now look at this one. This is quite interesting. And look how big this one is. This is obviously much older than the one we just saw. So perhaps in a couple of years or so, that smaller one we just looked like will look something along the lines of this one. You can see that gentle breeze now. It's much warmer than what it's been in pretty much the entire day. It is lovely out here. But hopefully, after we see an incredible sunset, hopefully we're going to see some more thick clouds come over and get another downpour of rain. That's what they forecasted for the week. Let's see if we can find any insects maybe along the way to see seeing as though the rain is now finished, so I think that we're going to get a couple of shongololos or millipedes and maybe a few other interesting things coming out. Well, I think especially this evening. But it seems as though James is doing a cruise down the Mulwati. Let's go over and take a look and see what he's got.
Now, I think I just spotted a gymnogene or African harrier hawk just through here. It wasn't, was it, Brian?
No.
What was it, Brian?
Grey go-away bird?
Yes, it was a grey go-away bird, which is... It's almost exactly the same as an African harrier hawk, isn't it, Brian?
Exactly the same.
Almost exactly the same, except for the fact that it is half the size, has no pink or red face. He's not a raptor of any sort, and basically doesn't look anything like. What it is eating, though, are the new buds, I think, on this Acacia robusta tree, or the splendid thorn. It's rather a splendid sighting, isn't it, on the splendid thorn? The splendid thorn only grows, everybody, in the drainage line areas. Quite tempted to see what those things taste like. So not eating it is eating leaves to a certain extent, but I think it's largely the buds of the leaves. No, those are fully grown leaves it's eating. It's fascinating. Actually, I didn't know they did that. They're supposed to be frugivorous in much the same way as crested barbets are frugivorous. But they will eat, obviously, lots of other things, because if you're frugivorous out here, if you're a fruitarian out here, and that's all you're prepared to eat, well, you're not going to last more than one season. Yes, that is exactly what I said. So carry on eating your leaves. Go on. That's it.
Where?
He's only just realised, I think, that he's been spotted. Isn't that a gorgeous picture? Backlit by the sun. Lovely. And just perching very peacefully on the tree there, thinking about whether or not we pose any danger at all, and clearly deciding that we're not that dangerous. Alrighty, let's press on. Well, let me move slightly forward and then we'll get an idea, Dina. You say, how much bigger than a cuckoo is a grey go-away bird? Well, it's much bigger than a Diederik's cuckoo, which is tiny. I will give you some measurements now, but it's about the same size, I suppose, lengthwise, as a striped cuckoo or Levalliant's cuckoo, which is even bigger. Let me just have a quick look. Alright. Torako. Just quickly look. Right, the go-away bird is supposed to be 49 centimeters, everybody. That is 50, say, call it 50 centimeters. So it's just shy of 2 feet. Just shy of 2 feet long. Now, the biggest cuckoo we get here, I think, is the Levalliant's or the great spotted. Let's find out. We haven't shown you a great spotted this year, have we? I know I've seen one, and Tayla's definitely seen one. But I don't know if we've managed to actually show them to you this season or not. Now, the African cuckoo is, yes, only a foot long. The classes, which is the same size as the Diederik's tiny little thing, is only about half a foot long. Diederik's the same. I will get there eventually, everybody. Black cuckoo a foot, red-chested cuckoo 1 foot, thick-billed cuckoo 1 foot. Great spotted is 39 centimeters, so it's still a good 2/3 of a foot shorter than that chap. And the Levalliant's, our biggest, is also 39 centimeters. which is just over a foot, so about a foot and a third, 1 foot 4, 1 foot 4. So there we go. We now have a comprehensive understanding of the relative size of the grey go-away bird to every single cuckoo species that we have here. Thank you for that, Dinah. I must say, I didn't realise that they, I mean, that's obviously why I confused it for a gymnogene, isn't it, Brian? Yes. It is, of course, shy of 2 feet long, a gymnogene roughly 2.5 feet. Goodbye. Have a lovely afternoon. Now, this is one of those lovely questions that I don't really know how to answer, which makes them doubly good. You say, of all the animals affected by the drought, well, we know that all the mammals were affected, and we know in what way they were the birds also affected? Well, I mean, they must have been. Okay, the most obvious example is the weavers. The weavers didn't even breed last year. Certainly the yellow weavers didn't even, the male yellow weavers hardly got their summer plumage at all. So that affected them. Did it make them thin though? Well, how do you tell if a bird is emaciated and skinny? It's not quite as easy as it is with a buffalo, but I imagine that it must have had an effect. There was far less fruit, so all the fruit-eating birds must have suffered. There were far less insects, so I imagine the insect-eating birds must have suffered as well. So I'm sure there was some suffering. I guess the migrants probably fared slightly better than others, because although there was a severe drought, it only kind of really takes hold after the rainy season. So yeah, I'm sure lots of little chicks didn't make it to adulthood. I'm sure some adults probably dropped dead, stuck the 2 legs in the air as a result of the drought. But it isn't nearly as obvious, is it, Aaron, as it is with the mammals? That's a very good question. Thank you for that. Oh, we had a wonderful monkey sighting here yesterday. David and I, a troop of monkeys feeding on a jackalberry tree that's just come into fruit. And it was so fascinating watching, just like human beings, or it's a bit like the Wild Earth staff in the kitchen when there's a bag of avocados there. We all go in and test them and then reject them mostly, and then take out, you know, we're very lucky if you find one that's ripe. And in much the same way, the monkeys were sitting in the jackalberry tree today, at least yesterday, and they were testing all the fruits, and then they'd eat the good ones and they'd leave the rest for later. It was amazing to watch. We're just around the corner here, and we'll just see if we can't get a view. Watch your head here, Brian. You know you are the tallest creature in Africa. There we go. There's the jackalberry tree. Now, that tree looked to me to be imminently climbable, wouldn't you say, Brian?
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to go and fetch some jackalberry fruits for us. Should Kirsten wish to link, you will tell me and I will then link. Yep. Right? Good. I've really got into trouble once today, everybody. I wasn't plugged in when I should have been. How's my audio?
That's good.
Good, good. You'll tell me if it breaks up, will you?
I will.
Good. Now one is going to be very careful walking up here. Good. Looks all right. Now this is a tambuti tree mixed in with a jackalberry tree. And we just want to get to a position where we can get hold of one ripe jackalberry fruit, because they are very delicious indeed. Do I look like a monkey, Brian?
Always, Dan.
I always look like a monkey. Well, that's not always my intention. Whoops, daisies. I think all the low-hanging fruit, as it were, has been taken, Brian.
Oh dear.
I'm not sure I can get to any of the high-hanging fruit without doing myself some sort of an injury. Can you still see me?
I can.
God. No, I can't get at it. You know what the case is here, everybody? Is that this is the jackalberry tree, but none of the leaves are actually around me. All of this is tambuti tree, And mixed into the tamboti tree, it's astounding. There's also a Cumbritan bush, and I can't see where it comes from. So 3 different trees occupying the same space. And I can see the little drupes or fruits of jackalberry all over the edge here. And I think the monkeys have taken all the low-hanging stuff. Oh well. Good. I shall come back down now, hoping fervently that Kirsten will link away in case I fall off. But quite often she just likes to see if I aren't going to fall down for amusement value. Not so, Brian.
Yeah.
So far all right. You can hear all the orioles calling, and I'm hoping also to show you at some stage the European golden oriole, which has a beautiful, beautiful feathering. In fact, there's an oriole just above me. You can't see it, can you, Brian?
Not currently, no.
Okay, never mind. Never mind. I'm almost down. Oh dear, I think I've got a branch in my pants. Oh, that's horrible.
Well done, James.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. It's a good tree, that one. Sorry I couldn't get any fruit for you, everybody. I know you're all starving. What was that about Casey in New York?
She wants to know how tall I am.
Oh, how tall Brian is. Brian is enormous. Brian, how tall are you?
I am 6'4".
6 feet and 4 inches. That is a substantial amount of human being in one package.
Better believe it.
I, on the other hand, Casey, am 5 feet and 8 inches tall. Which is a good 8 inches shorter than Brian. Tayla has found you something quite astonishing, everybody. She's found you something that, well, you could probably expect to find everywhere in the world.
We were looking at the sky and just admiring the beautiful clouds this afternoon. Should we have a look? Isn't that absolutely fantastic? Now, David's very concerned because he says they're burning away too quickly, and he's obviously hoping for a wonderful sunset this afternoon, which I'm sure we're going to get. And guess what? We're back with the Nkuhumas. Everybody has sort of left them as they sleep, but you know how patient I am, and I think that we were so sort of very lucky to see how they were jumping around earlier, and it's okay, they're allowed to have a little break. But you can see one lioness is up and grooming herself. The cubs, however, are fast asleep. But that must have been quite exhausting, the way that they were bounding around and tackling trees and falling out of trees. It's only sort of, well, we were expecting it, that they were going to have the sugar down and then go back to sleep again. But we will see. We'll sit here. It's cooling down nicely. It was strange. It just got hot for probably about 20 minutes. We had to take all our jackets off, and well, now as the sun is dropping lower and lower, it's starting to get cool, and I think we're going to maybe have a chilly evening tonight. Look at that little one all cuddled in nicely. That's a good spot, wedged between 2 lionesses. That must be very comfortable. Now, when they were standing up earlier, you saw that those lionesses were on the thin side. Like I said, it's very unusual. We haven't seen them with flat bellies for quite some time now. So I wonder what their plan is going to be this evening, if they're going to go and search for perhaps for a buffalo, or maybe follow up on those zebra that were alarming earlier. Maybe the zebra are on their way here. We won't know, and we'll just have to sit and wait and see what happens, of course. But fast asleep, these little lions are. They're making me sleepy. I'm going to have to do a big yawn soon. Except my teeth aren't as impressive as the lions are. Now what I'm hoping is going to happen is this lion's going to wake up and wake everyone else up. Now, Jarrett, you're wondering if it is going to be normal to allow these... Did I get that right, Kirsty? Sorry, I missed the beginning part. Are we talking about the male cubs joining the Birmingham? Ah, there we go. Thank you. That was a vital word I was missing. Sorry, Jarrett. I missed one vital word there. So you would like to know, would it be abnormal to allow these young male lion cubs to join up with the Birminghams? That is indeed correct. I don't think that would happen at all, and I don't know if it's ever really been recorded, but I can tell you a story of what I have seen. You know me, I'm always full of stories. Is down in the south, there was a beautiful male lion, and he went by the name of Solo. And the reason being was he was all on his own. And at one point, he was the main dominant male of the Southern Pride, and the Southern Pride was quite large. At one point there were 22 lions strong. Then there were takeovers by various males, and eventually that solo male got kicked out and off he went. He then joined up with another male lion that was also on his own, a little bit younger than what he was, and they called him the Kruger male, just because he came from Kruger and it just happened to be fitting. So Solo and the Kruger male joined up at an old age. They must have been at least about 8 or 9 years old, and they lived out their days happily together. Now that is quite unusual, because typically the bonds are formed between the male lions at a young age, and typically they've sort of formed the bond for a couple of years as they were growing up together. So I found that pretty interesting. So anything is possible. I just think that these cubs are just too young. The age gap between of course, the Birminghams and these little ones is too large. So I don't think that they would be too bothered by them, and I think that they would chase them out, because essentially they're competition for those Birminghams. I did hear the elephants. Now, I'm not sure if it's an entire herd of elephants or just a couple of bulls or maybe a small breeding herd, but it's the same ones that we heard earlier. And they seem to be moving closer. I still can't see them though, so they must be just in a thicket on the other side of this drainage line. Come on, lions. I think you've had a good 25-minute nap now. Oh, wasn't that adorable? Now that makes for a great pillow. That fluffy tummy, and of course now, well, that tail was moving very quickly. And I'm sure this little one is going to chase it. Either that or play with the baboon's tail, which it is doing now. Oh, that's bendy. Now that must be really nice to play with, because it is so soft. Like I said, it's very fibrous. So it'd be very nice to chew on. Quite satisfying. They're enjoying the baboon's tail at the moment. No, I wouldn't eat that. I don't think that would taste very nice, little one. You can see a little bit of mange on this one's legs, and a little bit on the tummy, but it looks like the hair is starting to grow back though. I think that they're looking good. You see how those little bits of hair are starting, that new hair that's coming through? At one point some of them had no skin at all, no hair at all, on their elbows down to their paws. Oh, it is. It's our little floppy girl. Is it her? She's looking. If that is her, I can't see her. Turn around for us so we can have a look. Yes, it is. I think it is. Is it, David? It does look like it, hey? Yes, I think it is. But it even looks like her ear is starting to improve slightly. She definitely looks much better now. But we'll get a proper view. Yeah, there we go. That's definitely her. Remember how it used to flop so much? And she was running around too quickly for us earlier this afternoon to have a proper look at her. Well, I also couldn't keep my eyes on one lion as they were racing about and climbing trees and tackling each other. But she's definitely looking a lot healthier. Now here's an interesting question from Debbie. Debbie wants to know, how much, if I would guess, do I think that these cubs weigh? So I reckon those teddy bear cubs probably weigh maybe about 5 kilograms or so, somewhere around there. I think they're heavier than we think. And that little cub over there, that looks like one of the middle-aged cubs, probably a little bit more. Maybe the teddy bear is only 3 or 4 kilograms, maybe less. And maybe this little one about 5. And I think the oldest cubs are probably close to about 10 kilograms, maybe 8 or 9, somewhere around there. I'm obviously just guessing now. I'm not 100% certain, of course, so let's try and do that conversion in pounds. Now, I'm not very good, of course, so I would say about 15 pounds, maybe 16 pounds for the oldest cubs, about 10 pounds, 11 pounds for the middle-aged cubs, and about 8.5 pounds or so for the other cubs, maybe 9 pounds, somewhere around there. But I suppose you get what I'm trying to get at. Not very heavy indeed. But they'll grow quickly, and you're going to be quite shocked as to how quick the eldest cubs are going to grow now that they've reached 6 months. You'll see when they get to a year, they're almost going to double in size, and it's going to happen very, very quickly. Now, I'm quite curious to see the improvement of this little cub as she sort of fights the mange, because her ear isn't flopping as much as it used to. So this is fascinating. Maybe it's going to heal completely, and then she's going to look just like the other cubs again. Now, we often see the lions all grooming each other, and I know that we actually watched it this morning, where we watched one of the lionesses pick the ticks out of one of the young cubs' coats. Now, Jenny from Texas, you're wondering if the lionesses are grooming the cubs and removing all the ticks from them. Do I think that they're also removing the mites that are causing the mange? Now, I don't think so. The reason being is because the way that I understand it is that those mites burrow into the skin and into the hair follicle itself and that's what they're feeding on. That's how I understand it. So I think even though they're licking the surface, I don't think that that's removing the mites. But I think that their immune system is building up. That's obviously helping. You can see the lions have heard something. The only thing I've heard, of course, is those elephants pushing a couple of trees down. But let's see what they're so interested in. Another one has gone up now, one of the other lionesses, but they're all looking back towards the drainage line. David, can you see anything? Where are they going? Now they're walking towards the drainage line. The cubs aren't going. Remember, their eyesight is so fantastic that they can probably see quite a few meters through that thick vegetation. Something has definitely caught their attention. Maybe it's something small like a common duiker or a bushbuck that's lurking on the banks. Look like they're fanning out now. Let's see what goes on here. If you hear me shuffling, it's just me trying to get a better view into this drainage line. See, even the little cubs have popped their heads up now, so they've also seen whatever the adults are looking at. I can't see anything. I'm just going to try and see what these lionesses are going to do. The one has gone off into the distance and down towards the drainage. She's sort of slinking away. The third one has got up now. You can see the one lioness looks like she's going to go straight down into the drainage line. We're going to stick back here because we've got the cubs in front of us, so I'm not going to be able to follow them just yet. Oh, there goes the game drive radio. Now, Steve, you were wondering how the lion hearing compares to human. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I think that's a very difficult thing to try and test. Gosh, she's one lioness. They've seen something. Steve, I'm going to get back to your question now. We want to just quickly watch and focus. One lioness has gone down. They've sort of flanked. So one's gone to the left and one's gone to the right, and into the drainage line they're off to. Because it's so thick here, and I've got these cubs in front of me, and I don't want to disturb the hunt, we're going to hold our position. We're going to be patient and just see what goes on here. I don't want to disturb this process because I'm going to have to drive over a couple of branches, and that could alert whatever prey species is down in this dip, and we don't want that. Sorry, Steve, I'll get to your question now. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's very difficult to say exactly how the human hearing is versus the lion's hearing, but I can tell you right now that their hearing is probably 150 times better than ours because they're hearing something. I don't know if they saw something. I didn't hear anything except the elephants breaking the branches, and they're looking the opposite way. But it's just much better. All these animals have got much better hearing than us. And you notice it straight away. When I go to the city and I come back to the bush, for the first couple of days I'm back in the bush, I'm deaf. I can't hear the birds. I can't hear anything anymore. Let's just sit and watch what happens. What have you guys seen down there? I just want to take my earpiece out. I think I can hear something in the distance. I thought that I heard sort of like movement through the bushes, but far west of us. We all saw those lions at one point. They turned their heads and looked west. I think it was the same thing that we heard. Look how that lion, she's just sitting on the edge of the bank. There's still a couple of elephants around. I can still hear them feeding. Now, I know you're probably all sitting there going, I want to know what those lions are looking at, but I don't want to go any closer. So we'll only move once we either hear a distress call or if these lions do start running. But for now, we're just going to sit right here and just observe. Remember, lion hunts sometimes don't just happen in a couple of minutes like what we've been fortunate to see. I've sat and watched lions going after. Oh, listen. I don't know if you heard that very far away. There's a male lion roaring in the far distance. It sounds like it could still be on Torchwood somewhere, but possibly coming back this way. We know one male went across this morning. Most likely Tinyo Maybe he's on his way back, or maybe it's even Nkuhuma who was seen mating with one of the Styx lions. Just want to turn the game drive radio on. Just trying to listen if I can hear if anyone's mentioned this male lion, and maybe where exactly he is. But all the lionesses now are up and slinking towards the drainage, just as the other three have done. No, little cubs, you guys are not going on this one, I'm afraid. They've been told to stay. It could really be anything. It could be the zebra that we heard earlier. It could be a buffalo bull moving along the drainage line, which they are very fond of doing. It could be a hippo out of the water. I didn't see Henry at Buffelshoek Dam. A kudu. They didn't show this much interest in the impala this morning, so I think it's something much larger than an impala. Look at the cubs though, how they're also watching. All keen. No, guys, don't go. You have to stay behind. You can see itching to go forward because they've seen the hunts before. They've been a part of one, of the takedown, attempting and practicing on a young buffalo calf, which is incredible. Now we just sit and wait until we hear something. Naughty cubs, stay where you are. Don't go down there. Okay, I'm going to turn the radio off. Nobody's mentioned that about that male lion roaring in the distance. Now, the reason why I'm sitting so quietly is because I want to hear if I hear stampeding or one animal running or a distress call. I can hear branches breaking. They're chasing a buffalo. Can you see them in the distance? I think if... Look up. You can go up. They're up there in the corner. I think they've got this buffalo. We're going to need to try and get around. I'm just going to quickly check the GPS as to what is going to be our best bet to get in there. The buffalo is distressing though. They're across the drainage line. Now I need to try and figure out how are we going to get there. I think Central is too far away. Let's see if we can find a spot to cross. Right, we need to get on the move. I think that they have indeed got a buffalo. I heard a big crash. Let's see if we can get a long distance view. I think we're going to get one. It's going here. I just don't want to disturb those cubs, of course. Right. Yes. Kirsty, can you maybe do it for me and just tell James to come onto Guaripan Road? And then they're basically between Guaripan Road and Central. I think they've got a buffalo. I think I should be okay. I think they've got it. I just need to find a way to cross. No, little cubs, don't come here. The cubs are also moving. Can you see them? Let's just take a distance view. Straight ahead, there are the lions. They've got a buffalo. Fantastic. They've got a buffalo. Right. Let's try and find a way to get through here. They've got it pinned down. The cubs are on the way. This is incredible. The Nkuhumas have done it again. Now, I need to stress to you that, of course, as sad as what this is going to be, it's important. These lions haven't eaten for a couple of days now. Those cubs are hungry. This is well deserved. Now we're going to do, I think we might be able to get through it. David, are you ready to do some off-roading? Kirsty, I should be fine. I've got them. They're not racing around. I'm just finding a way to cross. We're just trying to decide if we're going to get James in here or not, but I think we will be okay. We've just got to get up this little bank, but I think we've got a spot here. Lions are not successful hunters. Out of every 10 hunts, they take something down 3 times. We're going to go up here. Just watch your head. And they are proving us wrong time and time again. Look at this. I need to call it in on the radio. That is incredible. It looks like a young buffalo. I don't think it's particularly old. Let me just call this in quickly. Our mobiles and Nkuhumas have just killed it looks like a young buffalo. We're basically south of the drainage from where they were on Gwari Pan. Best access is to still come onto Gwari Pan, the last lock. You will get my visual from the road. There's just myself here. Right, it is a young buffalo. Now, I'm assuming that the radio is going to start going ballistic in a moment. Here comes the first cub. Now, this is something that we've been seeing quite a bit of, is these buffalo, these juveniles all on their own. There's no adults around. So possibly it's become weakened and unfortunately got left behind from the herd. Now you can hear that buffalo discourse trying to catch its breath, but I think it's hard to tell. I think that one of the lionesses has got it by the jugular.